All right, nerds. I have to pull that volume down a little bit more. How's it going, nerds? How are you? Late night stream. I almost didn't even do this, but I don't want to be a slacker, damn it. The whole motivation with the new life thing, right? So if it happens late, it still has to happen. That's where I stand on things. How's it? How is your evening? What's going on? We have a very interesting stream for the evening, for the night. In that there's not a whole lot of news like I was thinking there was going to be with our stream earlier in the week, and at the same time though, like things have happened that we need to address. We have a really big rumor that kind of feels less rumor, more hopeful for the future as far as the gaming side of things. I did a review of Animal Farm. I recorded that this morning, so that'll go up sometime in the next couple of days. I also saw the Super Mario Galaxy movie within the last few days, so I haven't done a review for that, so we're going to probably talk about that here to kick things off. But before we do any of that, don't forget we've got the merch shop link down in the description. You can go grab your Phantom Nerd shirt or whatever other nerdy needs you have to declare to the world that you are a nerd and you love the things that we do here on this channel. That is the Phantom Nerd. That's seriously my favorite design. I freaking love it. Also, channel partner in DUBBY. Love the dudes over at DUBBY. Oop, that's the wrong button. Don't forget to subscribe as well. So there's that. But also, DUBBY, DUBBY.gg is the website. You can go get your caffeine needs taken care of. 10% off gets you, code generally nerdy rather, it gets you 10% off in your cart when you go check out. Use that when you get your DUBBY. You can get it off everything in the cart. It's pretty freaking awesome. I drink it fairly regularly. Still haven't re-upped though, and I need to. But check out DUBBY.gg. Use code GentlyNerd to get 10% off of all of the things, and that is our channel partner. Normally I would put on the screw it. We're gonna do it. I gotta go pull it up, but I'm gonna put on the trailer for the movie while we talk about the movie. I just gotta open the dang thing up. So while I'm doing that, I'm gonna try and jibber jabber a little bit. It has been a very interesting week, and the next couple of weeks are just going to continue to get more and more interesting, it would seem. I am starting my new day job, and that is going to be much more involved than previous jobs. For the last few years, even because I am back into one of the top positions in the kitchen. Thank God. What am I doing? Mario Galaxy. So that is going to change. We've already kind of talked about this. That's going to change things as far as what the schedule looks like. It will not change things in that everything is still going to be live for the time being. But yeah, things are going to change. Scheduling's going to change. I need to mute this before it gets too crazy. Mute. There we go. Muted. Oh, and now there we go. Gotta push the button. Let's push the button. Over to this. All right, so I saw Super Mario Galaxy, and by and large, I would tend to agree with most of the reviews in that it's not going to change the face of cinema anytime soon, but also, like, it's totally a decent movie. What we got going on here? Oh, hi. The s'mores flavor is amazing, as they say in chat. Yes, check out the DUBBY. S'mores flavor is freaking fantastic. That is no lie right there. Anyway, so Super Mario Galaxy is a thing that happened, and I watched it. And if you haven't seen it yet, and you liked the first movie, you're definitely gonna like the second movie. The complaints that I have, by and large, are more complaints about the reviews than the actual. Why is everything frozen? That's not cool. Okay, longer frozen. I think I should have restarted. Yeah, go away. Okay. Hoping it's going to hold up. Because we only have... Oh, my antivirus is coming on. No, go away. Okay. Sorry. So, my big issue with the movie is not necessarily the movie itself, because I knew what I was getting into. It's a Super Mario movie. It's a movie based on a child's video game. Like, you can't just be dismissive and say it's a movie based on a video game, because Mortal Kombat is a movie based on a video game, and that's definitely anything other than child's play, right? So, play with the camera a little bit. Still a little bit more. What the heck is going on here, man? There we go. Hi! And like it is a child's property. Super Mario Brothers is something that is intended for a younger audience. So you have to keep that in mind when going to see a movie based on that property, because that's exactly what you get. The people who complained that it kind of seemed like a bunch of vignettes loosely strung together, like there's a very predictable is probably a more appropriate way of saying it's not a thin plot. It's a predictable plot. And there's not much else to say about it from there. Like, it's fun. It's a whole hell of a lot of fun to see Yoshi on screen. You got a whole lot of Yoshi! And you gotta love it because he's freaking adorable. And him... one of my favorite parts is when they first find him and they're asking how he got into the pipe where they found him, and he goes on to recount this whole story. Yoshi goes on to recount this whole story about how he ended up in the pipe, and like you see him with the flashback, and then it comes back into the scene, and I'm not spoiling anything aside from maybe a joke, but like you come back to the scene and he's just talking Yoshi, 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 and so then Mario says to Luigi, well, I guess we'll never know. Because he's not saying actual words. Like, there's one way to play a character like that. You could do like they do in Star Wars with any of the characters who don't speak the Galactic Standard, which we know as English, in like Chewbacca and R2 and so on and so forth, where they speak whatever the language is. I forget exactly what Wookiees speak, but like R2 speaking in code. And they just acknowledge it like he's saying things. So you can play it straight like that, or you can do what they did in the Mario movie and just totally, well, I guess we'll never know. And that was subversive in and of itself, because like you expect them to do the Star Wars thing and you expect them to just, yeah, sure, he's saying words. So yeah, it was pretty funny. And there's a lot of little gags like that, and there's a lot of fan service, and like that's what the first movie was, so we shouldn't have gone into the second movie expecting it to be world changing, because that's not what the MO is. The MO is make the fans happy, do something that the kids are going to enjoy, throw in some fan service for the parents, and you've got yourself a $1 billion movie that's going to definitely return exponentially on your investment. So, like, yeah, that's exactly what it is. There's no surprises here. There is a post-credit scene, and yeah, just all around good time. Definitely, and the trailer's done and probably has been done for a few minutes, but I just keep rambling. But yeah, it definitely a fun watch. Go watch it. That's all we really got to say on that. So let's get into some actual news, shall we? I think I'm in the wrong workspace. Let's go to the right one. We're going to go through a couple of these here comic book news pieces, and then we're going to get to the one that I really want to talk about, and that's Injustice. But let's talk about these quickies first and foremost. We have an update on the My Adventures with Superman getting a Season 3 release date. I kind of honestly stopped paying attention to this one after Season 1 came out, so I forgot Season 2 was even a thing, but we have this from Cosmic Book News. My Adventures with Superman Season 3 now has a release date, with Jack Quaid returning as Clark Kent when DC Animated Series comes back to Adult Swim on June 13th. Right there, June 13th. That's pretty freaking awesome. New season premieres Saturday, June 13th, midnight, as part of Adult Swim's Toonami anime action block. Oh, dope. They brought Toonami back? I have not watched Adult Swim in so long. That's cool shit. Anyway, episodes will stream the next day on HBO Max. Series comes from Warner Bros. Animation and continues coming-of-age story centered around Clark Kent, Lois Lane, Jimmy Olsen, and Kara Zor-El, so Supergirl, as they balance their lives with Daily Planet and bigger threats tied to Superman's future. This is, which Superman is this? I can't remember. Jack Quaid, known from The Boys, returns as Clark Kent Superman from My Adventures with Superman Season 3. He's joined by Alice Lee as Lois Lane, Ishmael Saeed as Jimmy Olsen, and Kiana Madeira as Kara Zor-El. The series follows a group of 20-somethings, blah, blah, blah. Why am I brain farting? Which version? That's one of the Supermen. Why can I not think? Season 3 puts Superman's future at risk. Official Season 3 synopsis teases Clark becomes more comfortable as Superman after making peace with his Kryptonian origins. Clark is now ready to settle down, but Lois has other plans. She has become the Daily Planet's star reporter and isn't ready to slow down. Jimmy has also moved from freelance photographer to celebrity journalist, but Kara's arrival creates a new problem for him. He is intimidated by her romantic attention while Kara tries to find her place on Earth. The new season described as action, comedy, and romance-packed, all three. That's a pretty tall order. With the found family facing powerful new enemies who challenge Superman, threaten the future, and test the bonds holding them together. Synopsis asks whether the heroes can save their tomorrow before it destroys today. Where is it? Oh, come on. Tell me who the freaking... which version of evil Superman is that on the poster? Kara Zor-El looks to be a major part of Season 3 after being introduced into the show's world. Her arrival gives the series another Kryptonian presence while also expanding the show beyond Clark's own journey. New season will explore how Kara fits on Earth, how she connects with the main cast, and what her presence means for Superman's future. But also gives Jimmy a new storyline, as the synopsis confirms Kara's romantic interest leaves him rattled. Yeah, I feel like Supergirl being super interested in you would be a little weird. My Adventures of Superman Season 3 is co-executive produced by and showrun by Jake Wyatt and Brendan Clogger. James Gunn, Peter Safran, and Sam Register executive produce the series, with Kimberly S. Moreau serving as producer. It's nothing. Not going to give me anything, because my brain is going, I know who that is. I am just not functional right now as far as the recollection is concerned, and that's driving me nuts. Anyway, Season 3 happening in June. Super fun for that, because I haven't heard anything horribly bad about it. Like, it's not exactly breaking new ground as far as Superman stuff is concerned, but it's a solid show. And at this point with Warner Brothers, that's kind of all we can expect. Oh, our next piece I totally forgot was even a thing. Oh, I'm super excited now. This is we got all the big stuff going on. Resident Evil trailer has dropped. Zach Krieger's Resident Evil has a trailer. We're gonna watch it. I gotta put my headphones on. We gotta pause the music, but let's do the thing. Pause. Okie dokie. So, Sony has released first trailer for Resident Evil, giving fans their first official look at Zach Krieger's take on the franchise ahead of the movie's September 18th, 2026 theatrical release. That's all we need to know. If we are confused, Austin Abrams and One Horrifying Night. Yeah, we'll come back to this, I think. Do I have this open? Should have this open. Pesto. Really, I don't? Oh, that's dumb. Why wouldn't I have this open already? Oh, because it's going to play right here. Okay, let's do that. We can do that. Thank you, Cosmic Book, for finally figuring out what the hell's going on with your YouTube embedded videos. But, Resident Evil official teaser trailer. Let's roll with this one. Abandoned house in the Resident Evil world is never a good thing.
I'm really sorry that we got disconnected earlier, but some things have happened. I'm in like a seriously fucked up situation right now.
Oh, Red Band trailer apparently. Okay. I love Krieger's ability to build tension. Oh. Wait a minute. Is that... That's oh, and now I'm gonna brain fart, and so I can't even make the joke. From Dune and the Thing and the big fat guy with the bald and the... I'm sorry. Let's just go. Okay.
I just wanted you to know.
Whoa. Wow, that's pretty nuts. That's really nuts, man. I'm hoping, this is my hope for the Resident Evil movie, the Krieger Resident Evil. I'm hoping actually kind of two things. One, that it legitimately ties into the mythology of the games, because obviously it's not going to tell us any of the stories that exist in the games, which is fine. You don't have to do that. But if you're going to do something with the name Resident Evil, it should tie into the mythology. And I also hope that, too, the studio doesn't force him to tie it to the Mila Jovovich movies, because those are hot garbage. I know a lot of people have a lot of fun with those movies, but I just really could never get into them because it was such a disassociative experience, because I really, really dug the Resident Evil games, and then those movies started happening, and it was like, but this isn't how this goes at all. Um, So yeah, and then they tried to do like the fan servicey ones and just felt super cringe every time I watched them. And I had friends who really dug them a lot, and so I watched them quite a bit. Never could do the thing. So yeah, Resident Evil, September 18th. So real quick, we have official synopsis says Resident Evil follows Brian, played by Austin Abrams, as he unwittingly gets pulled into an action-packed fight for survival when one horrifying night spirals out of control around him. Teaser keeps the focus on Abrams and the panic of trying to make it through the outbreak alive, which lines up with what was previously shown at CinemaCon. That is a mouthful right there. CinemaCon attendees saw footage of Abrams' character in a snowy setting trying to find help before the situation turns into full zombie horror. I love it. Variety described the footage as featuring an abandoned house, a desperate phone call, grotesque creatures, and a zombie horde chasing Abrams through a deserted street. Which is kind of what we just saw. So did they just see the trailer and Variety just likes to embellish a little bit? Now the teaser's out, Sony's finally letting fans see the tone Krieger is going for in his new version. I'm here for it, man. This version of Resident Evil comes from Zach Krieger, who built the momentum with Barbarian and Weapons. If you haven't seen either of those and you are a horror movie fan, you simply must. Barbarian, maybe you only need to see one time because it's pretty messed up. And also about 2/3 of the way through, maybe 3/4 of the way through, it really kind of jumps off of it doesn't fall off the rails. It jumps the hell off the rails. It's incredibly original up until that point, and then it's like, oh, now this is just kind of a lame creature feature. Anyway, but it's great. It's up until that point, it's great, and at that point, it's pretty run of the mill, but not bad. And Weapons is pretty original throughout. Like, I'm super excited to see the prequel to Weapons that he's working on next, after Resident Evil. Anyway, Krieger has previously said his movie tells an original story set within the Resident Evil universe rather than directly adapting one of the games beat for beat, which appears to be what Sony is leaning into with the new teaser. Yes, please, and thank you. Screenplay is credited to Krieger and Shay Hatton. Producers include Robert Kolzer, Krieger, Roy Lee, Miri Moon, Carter Swan, and Azad. I'm not going to say that last name correctly. I apologize in advance. Kieselbosch, something. With the cast also includes Zach Cherry, Kali Rice, and Paul Walter Hauser. Cool. Yeah, very excited for that one. Oh, also, I have things sitting here off camera that I also wanted to touch on, so let's talk about that real quick. Yo, what's up, Bjorn? How are you this morning? We're gonna switch cameras back to this guy because so I said I've been to a couple movies this week, and the theater that I go to regularly so when I go see Mortal Kombat, because we're going to talk about Mortal Kombat for a second. I know we did a whole episode, well, a half an episode about it earlier in the week, but I'm going to touch on it again because I'm a nerd. I'm a big super goober. So the Mortal Kombat movie comes out this week, and I'm very, very excited about it. I'm going to a Regal cinema that is a little bit further away from me because Regal has all of the good as far as the merch stuff is concerned. But Regal, Cinemark, and AMC are the three main theater chains that have everything. So if you can see the movie in one of those three theaters, or in all three of those three theaters, so you have to see it 3 times, or you can just go to the theater and buy the stuff. That's how you can get all of the collectible merch, is those 3 chains. All of the other chains have a subsection of the collectibles, but if you go to those 3, you will be able to get all of the collectibles. So I was curious exactly how that was going to work, because I'm going to try and get all of the collectibles. Thank you very much. I got all the Cinemark collectibles a freaking week early. I'm super stoked about this. We got Johnny Cage. This is one of the popcorn buckets, as you can see. Is empty in there, but it's got the slate. It says, "To my biggest fan, Cage." Dope. We got the Mortal Kombat across the top. Woo! Woo! Mortal Kombat 2. All right, so there's that, and then we've got just the generic poster cup. That's pretty freaking awesome as well. Loving that a whole hell of a lot. And we got the other cup. This is the one with the amulet, Shinnok's amulet across the top, which the kid that was getting the that was running the concessions that I talked to, I was like, all right, so I want to buy all of these things, but I don't want you to put anything in them. And he kind of looked at me sideways. I was like, they're collectibles, bro. We're not messing them up. So I was like, I don't care. I don't want the popcorn. We're not putting soda. We're going to get a soda, but we're not putting soda in it in either of those cups. And so he's like, okay, so you want a paper cup for your soda, you want the collectibles, and then you don't want the free popcorn? And I was like, well, if it's free, I guess I'll take it. But so I spent $50 on concessions. I thought it was going to be $50 for the three things. So I was like, all right, I guess I'm getting away pretty clean with this, because I'm getting a drink and popcorn out of the deal as well as the collectibles. So considering movie theater prices, yeah, the nerd energy is definitely gathering, bro. But yeah, super stoked. We will definitely. So this is the plan, and then we're going to move on with more news. But this is the plan for next week as far as the Mortal Kombat movie is concerned. I am going to be doing another review and reaction. It's going to be rolled all into one video with the 2021 movie. I'm going to avoid the big mistake I made there. So let me talk about that for just a second. I loved the 2021 movie. I'm pretty sure I gave it like a solid C. I'm pretty sure it was like a 7 out of 10 as far, because I was still trying to do like letter grades for movies at the time. It seems like this is going to be a better movie. We've already talked about this. I'm not going to waste your time too much there. But as far as the video is concerned, it's going to take me a few days. What I'm going to do is I'm going to structure it in such a way that we get a little bit of my preamble, because I've seen a couple of reviews from people who were at the fan screening the other day, so I kind of know what to expect. I've read a whole bunch of spoilers from people who were at the fan screening the other day, so I know pretty explicitly what to expect. I've seen some really weird theories, so we'll address those in the video as well. There will be a lightning reaction, the immediate out of the theater, what it feels like walking out of the theater, because I know that's going to be super hype. And then probably a couple of days later, I'll film the actual review, and that's all going to go in one video and then get posted up on the channel. I'm doing it this way so that I can avoid the mistake I made with the 2021 movie, in that I was so hype, I didn't brush up on some of the deeper lore elements, so I totally forgot that Reptile's real name was Syzoth, and just kind of embarrassed myself with that. So I already apologized for that years ago when it happened. I'm apologizing for that again. We're going to avoid that this time. There are very few, I shouldn't say it that way. There are few in the Mortal Kombat community who are as seasoned as I am, which I kind of say arrogantly, because I've been a fan since before it was on a home console, since it was only an arcade cabinet back in '95. The second I played it, I was instantly hooked, and I've been deep in the lore ever since. So I don't have the greatest memory, though, so again, that's why I'm going to be brushing up before we do the actual review, and I'm super hype about it, and I'm gonna do you proud, nerds. I'm gonna do you proud. All right, so all of that being said, I'm gonna stop gushing now. We're gonna get back to the news. Let me switch back here. Sha. Okay, so let's talk, since we were just talking Mortal Kombat, let's talk about this Injustice nonsense. There have been leaks, apparently, that have kind of sort of confirmed Injustice 3 is the next game from NetherRealm. So it's going to be another 4 years or so before we get Mortal Kombat 2, maybe is what they're going to call it. The 13, if you're keeping track at home, playing the home game there, children. I'm kind of okay with this because I'm still having fun with Mortal Kombat 1. So, but I feel like Injustice definitely needs an update, and we skipped our Injustice installment last time. We went from 11 to 1, and no Injustice game in the middle like we had with the previous games. So I think we're due for an Injustice game. But this article comes to us from MP First. This was the only place I could find this information in print. Or this is, I guess, more appropriately, the first place I could find this information in print. Because a lot of the other like leakers they do like YouTube videos and they do Twitter accounts and so on and so forth, and that's just harder to cover in this format. So I don't know exactly if this article covers all the details that I've seen from other sources. We will get into that if it doesn't. So let us read. Excuse me. Okay, so the article reads: the idea of NetherRealm Studios returning to its iconic DC fighting series Injustice following a Mortal Kombat release will come as a surprise to almost no one. That's true. But despite their predictable release cycle, a cloud of uncertainty has continued to hang over the developer's next major project. Much of that doubt began to dissipate last year when reports surfaced, which we covered here on the channel, that the voice actors of Superman and Aquaman in the Injustice series had spilled the beans at a convention, hinting that a third entry was indeed in development. While that sounded promising, we still lacked more tangible evidence needed to confirm our suspicions beyond mere word of mouth. Fortunately, we've been able to uncover new evidence that corroborates Injustice 3 is the next NetherRealm project. Yes. The following information comes from the resume of an artist currently working at Warner Brothers Games, whose identity we have chosen to withhold for confidentiality reasons. In it, the artist lists experience on several AAA projects, ranging from the already confirmed Hogwarts Legacy sequel to 2 unannounced titles. Most notably, however, is the explicit mention of the project that interests us the most, Injustice 3. Look at that right there, Injustice 3, TBD. Dope. While the confirmation doesn't go beyond a simple mention, it remains tremendously interesting to see that we are bound to return to Injustice's chaotic take on the DC universe. The discovery aligns with past statements from DC Studios CEO James Gunn, who previously confirmed that discussions were held with both NetherRealm and Rocksteady Studios regarding the development of future titles based on DC properties. So the TLDR there, the reason we've had to wait so long for an Injustice game is because of the takeover by Gunn and Safran. And then also the resulting sell again of Warner Brothers, which we're in the middle of still, put things in a very crazy limbo. So what they did at NetherRealm was, since they didn't know what the future was, if the company was going to get broken apart and they would no longer have the rights to use those characters in a game, they played it safe and gave us Mortal Kombat 1. That's a way of putting that, because I feel like there was a lot of issues with them doing Mortal Kombat 1, but that is the way they went. So here we are, 4 years later. And I don't know, man. I feel like it would have been so much cooler to let Mortal Kombat 1 bake just a little bit longer and then give us the Injustice 3 instead of the way it went, but that's neither here nor there because we can't change the past, right? So, continuing on, NetherRealm's creative lead, Ed Boon, also previously stated his intentions on going back to Injustice, as well as declaring that the team had already decided on their next project as far back as 2021, so it's safe to say a follow-up to the series has been on their radar for a long time. I sincerely suspect that this year, during the non-E3 time, that we are going to get a logo reveal. I don't think we're going to get a trailer just yet, but I do think we're going to get a logo reveal and a confirmation that this is going to be the next game. It's going to be a little while before we actually get the game, but we're going to get Injustice 3. Anyway, continuing on again. The last entry we would receive in the series was Injustice 2 back in 2017, which despite its critical acclaim was followed by 2 consecutive Mortal Kombat releases, leaving DC fans waiting for nearly a decade. Also notable about the Mortal Kombat releases is that there's no DC crossover. Yeah, because the comic book crossover for 11 was Spawn. Oh no, Joker. Joker was in 11. That's right. Okay, I'm losing my mind. Sorry, because it wasn't supposed to be Joker. It was supposed to be Ash from the Evil Dead, and so that's where my brain was for a second. So Joker was the last minute swap out. He was the audible. That's right. So I take that back. Mortal Kombat 1 does not have a DC character in it. We got, oh, I take that back too, because Peacemaker. Good lord. I was thinking Peacemaker was Image as well for some reason, and I don't know why. But we got Omni Man, who was Image, and we got is Homelander Image too? Where did the boys get printed? Vertigo. So the Image and Vertigo, but which is a DC imprint, so kind of a DC character. But anyway, where did we leave off? While nearly 3 years have passed since the studio's latest release, suggesting a significant amount of groundwork is complete, there is still likely some road left ahead. On average, the studio's recent titles have required 3 to 4 year development cycle, meaning that they would expect to see a reveal in the near future. In the meantime, all that is left is to wait for official confirmation from NetherRealm's part? That doesn't make sense. Let's proofread these articles, shall we please? On a related note, the Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection recently added one of its most requested features in crossplay, which I have yet to take advantage of because my Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection is still in a freaking box in Colorado. So, super stoked. So yeah, that covers everything that I've heard from other sources. Is that we've got an artist confirming there was a job listing. I guess that wasn't covered in here. There was a job listing from Warner Brothers Games that implied something to do with a fighting game, so people have kind of speculated that that was also an Injustice 3 reveal to a certain degree, but nothing is confirmed until it's confirmed, man. So this is firmly in the category of rumor. Tune's back on, sorry. Okay, so that's dope. Let's move on. Next is the other big piece. Actually, no, we're going to do this one first. We'll go to the Rippaverse, just because this is going to be a little quickie. Rippaverse, if you're unfamiliar, is the comic book line from Eric July, who goes on YouTube with the name Young Rippa, so he has named his comic book universe the Rippaverse. They just inked a pretty major distribution deal, which is pretty freaking awesome for independent comics all over the place, man. Not just his Rippaverse stuff, but let's read the article, shall we? Rippaverse Publishing is getting a major retail boost. Hatchet Book Group announced Wednesday that Rippaverse Publishing will join its third-party sales and distribution slate in July 6th of 2026, giving Eric July's independent graphic novel company worldwide sales and distribution support across retail, wholesale, bookstores, libraries, and international markets. Super excited for Mr. Eric July. That's so awesome. Deal marks a big step for the Rippaverse, which launched in 2022 and built its business largely through direct-to-consumer sales. Yes, by pretty much every book they've put out has been Kickstarter or Patreon. I think they've done one or two through Patreon, but definitely correct me if I'm wrong on that. I could be conflating it with somebody else. Hatchet will handle worldwide sales and distribution. Under the new World Rights Agreement, Hatchet Book Group will manage sales and distribution of Rippaverse titles worldwide. That means Rippaverse books will now be sold through Hatchet across retail, wholesale across all territories. Quote, Rippaverse Publishing is a modern independent publisher creating original graphic novels with a strong emphasis on collectability and fan engagement, unquote. This comes from Russell Evans, Director of Business Development, Hatchet Book Group, and Hatchet UK. Hatchet said the move is part of an ongoing third-party publisher expansion strategy. Rippaverse joins a roster that includes Abrams, Chronicle Books, Yen Press, Lonely Planet, Nosy Cow, and others. And then it just goes on to tell you who Eric July is. Bookstores, libraries, and more. Alpha Core number 3 release date. Well, there you go. There's a little bit update if you're reading any of the Rippaverse stuff. Eric July confirmed that some release dates will see small adjustments as Rippaverse prepares for the wider rollout. He specifically mentioned Alpha Core number 3, which will be pushed back slightly to so the company can better maximize its store launch. Most other titles expected to keep their current dates, with July saying the company will be transparent about any changes as they are finalized. That's so cool. Congratulations once again to Mr. Young Rippa himself, Eric July. I'm just stoked. The community is going to grow so well from that. All right, our other big piece for this episode is Doomsday. It's another rumor, but like I said, it's a slow news day. So let's get into this one. Do wonder what the leveling systems are going to be in Injustice 3, or if it's going to be the same as Injustice 2. That is a fair question, addressing chat. Um, I I really feel like they've kind of, with Injustice 2, they hit a pretty great stride as far as the engagement goes from the fans. They had a decent amount of customization, that they then expanded in Mortal Kombat 11 and then completely shot to hell with Mortal Kombat 1. So I'm hoping we see a return to that level of customization for characters. I'm hoping that the level system also it makes a return, because that was a great way to gamify the single player modes, and also keep it fresh so that you didn't. It wasn't pay to win stuff. You weren't getting perks in the versus game, but you were getting perks in the single player game, and I thought that was brilliant. So yeah, I definitely agree that at the very least they should return to what they gave us in 2. But I would like to see them expand on that in 3, for sure, for sure. All right, anyway, sorry. Continuing on. Let's go. New Avengers Doomsday rumor claims Marvel has gone through several different ideas for Robert Downey Jr.'s Doctor Doom character, including versions involving Tony Stark, Mephisto, Pepper Potts, Sue Storm, and Doom's family. We'll address the other rumors that I've heard at the end of this, I believe. And Doom's family. Continuing, the info comes from My Time to Shine Hello on X. So as always, treat it as rumor for now. Yeah, because My Time to Shine definitely does not have the best track record. But Marvel hasn't confirmed the plot of Avengers Doomsday, but the details are interesting because they line up with other rumors about Doom's motivation and how Fantastic Four could set him up. According to My Time to Shine Hello, Doom's origin story in Avengers Doomsday didn't always involve him having a family. Scooper claims other versions of the story include Doom's parents dying, while another version had Doom believing he was reincarnation of Tony Stark and that he, quote, belonged in the MCU. That version would have leaned hard into Robert Downey Jr.'s return, making Doom's connection to Iron Man part of the story instead of just a casting twist. I believe Jeremy at the Nerd Vengers. I can't remember his proper name, the name of his channel right now, and I'm sorry, Jeremy. You do great work, but I think that his take on this is very potentially the closest to what we're actually going to get. I think there's definitely room for him to be very, very wrong, and I think that he still doesn't. Even if it does line up mostly with his theory, it's not going to line up completely with his theory. There's going to be some sort of difference, but I think he's got it the most right in that everything that we've been setting up, there is an undercurrent of the universe that was, effectively. And it was He Who Remains, so Kang, the variant of Kang the Conqueror, who split the world that was into multiple timelines as a means to separate certain beings who had to exist because they were deemed to have to exist by some cosmic force. Again, Jeremy goes into great detail as to who that cosmic force is. So if you really want to go check out I'm just going to look it up right now because I'm doing an injustice by not mentioning it. Oh, where are you, Jeremy? But yeah, so splitting it up because the certain people have to exist in the universe. And so in order to keep that technically true, he has different multiverses. Nerd, where are you? No, not NERD. Enjoy the tunes for just a moment. I apologize. My brain is itching, and I gotta do this, or I'm gonna really be grumpy with myself for referencing Jeremy by name, but not his channel. Nerdvenger. I'll just look up Nerdvenger. There it is. Den of Nerds. Oh, good lord. Thank you. Scratching the brain itch. Den of Nerds. If you really want to go into the details of this theory, then go check out his channel, Den of Nerds. It's quality theory stuff. But I think that makes the most sense, is we're setting up to get the Doom is going to undo what He Who Remains did in splitting the universe. Doom is going to put it back together with the Secret Wars and with the Battle World. So that's going to put everything back together, and that's going to end the silly multiverse saga, and then that's going to kick off the mutant saga, and we're going to see, we also have rumor that RDJ is going to continue forward for at least another movie beyond Secret Wars. He's going to continue forward as both Doctor Doom and Tony Stark. We have other rumors saying that Tony Stark's going to be dead by the end of Secret Wars, but Jeremy has heard other things, and that, I think, plays a little better to at least keep Tony, the character of Tony Stark, as played by RDJ, around for a little while longer. Will probably go a long way in getting normies to go to the movies and stuff. So let's get back to the article about this rumor, though. Previous rumors have claimed the current version of Avengers Doomsday gives Doom a more personal motivation. The rumor is that an incursion kills Doom's family, which sends him on the path of revenge. That would give character a direct reason to go after the multiverse, and could explain why Doom becomes such a major threat heading into Avengers Secret Wars. Also makes Doom less of a generic villain and more of a damaged figure who sees himself as justified, which is usually how Doctor Doom works best. That is 100% true. Isn't just evil for the sake of evil. He believes he is right. The Russos did something similar with Thanos. Also true. They definitely made Thanos much more sympathetic than he was ever in the comics. So there's that. Well, I don't know. I don't know if you can say ever, because the Infinity Gauntlet thing in the comics was him being pretty sad because he was trying to win the heart of a girl with the Infinity Stones. But we're not going to get into that. Anyway, the death is anyway, whatever. That family angle could also explain why Doctor Doom reportedly has a scene with Franklin Richards at the end of Fantastic Four. Franklin is one of the most powerful characters in Marvel Comics. His presence could be key to the MCU's multiverse story. If Doom loses his own family because of an incursion, seeing Franklin with Reed and Sue could push him further over the edge. Could also make Doom's connection to the Fantastic Four more personal before Avengers Doomsday gets underway. All right, we'll continue here, because this... Honestly, I haven't heard this angle on this, because I've heard the rumor, but this is a really cool interpretation of this rumor. So let's keep going, shall we? Oops. There's also speculation from a Hollywood VFX artist friend that Franklin Richards may heal Doom's fate. No. That's not happening. Maybe he heals it for a second as a very small baby, and like that's how we know that Franklin starts to have powers. That could happen, but I really don't. It's such an intricate part of what makes Doom to have something messed up about his face. I don't think they're going to go crazy because it is Robert Downey Jr., but I think throughout the entirety of his existence in the MCU, he's going to have something wrong with his face. That's just the character of Doom, and at this point, they know enough to not completely change it. Well, I would hope anyway, to not completely change a character, that I think they'll still keep something wrong with his face. Traditionally, Doom's scarred face and mask are central to the character, but Marvel also has a big reason to show Downey's face after bringing him back in the MCU. If Franklin heals Doom, Marvel could have it both ways. Doom still has the mask, but Downey can appear unmasked without completely throwing out the character's mythology. It would also make Franklin even more important to the story if he has a direct effect on Doom before the Avengers movie. The rumored earlier versions sound like Marvel was trying to figure out how far to push Robert Downey Jr. twist. Doom believing he is a reincarnated Tony Stark would have directly tied the character to Iron Man. All right, so this is the other part about Jeremy at the Den of Nerds. Sorry, this is the other thing about his theory that I think works better than this theory, and then a couple of the other theories that are out there right now is because they have already introduced the idea of variants, multiversal variants for these characters, they're going to, this is the theory anyway, they're going to take the idea of different instances of the same character existing in multiple universes and have Tony Stark be adopted by the Starks as a young baby and have him be a variant of Doctor Doom. So Doctor Doom, he was supposed to grow up and be Victor Von Doom, but because in the 616 his parents were killed or something and he was adopted by the Starks, he grew up to be Tony Stark. Whereas in whatever world this version of Doom that's going to be Doomsday came from, he grew up in Latveria, he grew up to rule Latveria, learn all the magics and all the science and all the things, and then want to be the savior of the world by making everybody bow to him, right? Because that's the twisted mind of Doctor Doom. So the reason they look the same is because they're variants of the same physical being. Just because one legally is called Tony Stark and the other one is called Victor Von Doom does not mean they're separate people. They're variants of the same person. So I think that's a more interesting twist, because then that also explains why Doom is upset with the 616, because that version of him grew up with parents, whereas he grew up without parents in Latveria. So like, just creating more depth and more struggle to the character of Victor Von Doom. Super, super excited if that's the way it goes. If this is the way it goes, the theory in this article, I feel like that's the far more boring version of that story. Continuing on. The Mephisto idea would have added another hidden villain behind the scenes. The obsession with Pepper Potts or Sue Storm would have made Doom's motivation more personal, but also risked making the story feel too strange or forced. The family revenge angle sounds cleaner. It gives Doom a reason to hate the multiverse, ties him to the Fantastic Four, and sets up Avengers Doomsday without turning him into Tony Stark variant gimmick. I don't think that's a gimmick, and I think you have it reversed. Tony is the variant, not Victor. Anyway, Avengers Doomsday was released December 18th, 2026. Movie brings back Robert Downey Jr.'s Doctor Doom, is expected to lead directly in Avengers Secret War, which follows on December 17th, 2027. Yeah. So, super interesting. I'm really excited to see which of these versions is closer to the reality of what we get in the movie. That's everything there. That's more reaction stuff we're not doing in this stream. Follow-up on the Star Wars Galactic Racer, and then I think we're just going to call this a stream because it is getting a little late. Knowing Marvel, there's a possibility they will all right. So they're going to tell a different story with Victor Von Doom. Like, that is kind of the biggest given. We already know that because Victor and Tony being that closely related never happened in the comics. So obviously they're going to mess with the story of Victor Von Doom. I think that the lowest amount of damage that they can do with that being the premise, like from Jump Street, things are going to be messed up. The lowest amount of damage that they can do is to do some sort of variation of the theory that Victor and Tony are variants of the same person. And the better version of that story is to have Tony be supposed to have been raised as Victor Von Doom, but instead became Tony Stark and became the savior. And so Victor Von Doom, from whatever universe he's from, becomes the villain. Even though they're both motivated in similar ways, as Doom always is, Doom is always the one who's trying to save everyone, just has a horrible way of doing it. Like, I think that is going to be the biggest motivator that the not only the fans are going to latch onto, but I think the normies are going to appreciate much more. They're going to find a really nice middle ground with that version of the story. Going somewhere else feels a little more cold and doesn't quite tie into all of those separate storylines as well. And honestly, theoretically even ignores some of the other setups that we've kind of been hinting at. I guess they haven't been super explicit with a lot of this stuff, which is by design. Like they're kind of filling in the details as they go along, but they have kind of the broad strokes already. So when everything happened with He Who Remains, King the Conqueror, what is the kid's name who played him? I'm gonna draw a blank. But when he got in trouble for his domestic violence stuff, um, they pivoted because it was going to be Kang that was going to be the one who was the creator of Battle World, and then have Victor come in later, because the Victor thing has been in the works since forever. What freaking Ant-Man? Was it Ant-Man and the Wasp? I think that's what it was. Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. I'm pretty sure that's where... I just need the kid's name. Jonathan Majors. There we go. So Jonathan Majors, when Jonathan Majors got in trouble and they yanked him from the MCU, a lot of this stuff was already set in motion, because they've made it clear at this point that Robert Downey Jr. has been signed back on in a contract since 2021 approximately, which means that was long before Majors got in trouble, because Majors didn't get in trouble until like 23, right? So it's only been a few years since they've pulled him out. Ant-Man, when did this movie come out? Ant-Man and the Wasp came out in 23. Yeah, so yeah, it was shortly after Quantumania came out. I really feel like it's always been a long-term play to bring Robert Downey Jr. back. I think that bringing him back this way is only a minor pivot from where they were going to begin with. I think we're missing out on a pretty epic battle between Kang the Conqueror and Doctor Doom. I think that would be freaking awesome, because then you're putting your protagonists, your heroes, into a really sticky situation, because you have these two immovable objects fighting over the fate of the universe, effectively. So they kind of have to side with one or the other. So then you have a whole nother Civil War situation, because then you have to agree with Kang in that it's better to have the multiverse and have all these different variants, because that's creating more life, I guess would be the argument. Or you have the truth, which is what Doctor Doom wants. He wants to go back to the one universe where everything is as it should be. So like, that's a really interesting philosophical clash that would also make for a really interesting physical clash. So yeah, I totally getting off on a tangent, but yes. That has certain, yeah, no, it's absolutely going to be a certain mess up. Yeah, the same time, if you look at the new Fantastic Four movie, there's a small chance that it could be a big mess up or a small. There's a lot to diss about the new Fantastic Four movie. They get those characters, like, it's the best version that we've got in theaters probably ever. Like, as far as like live action movies go, it's the best version of the Fantastic Four we've ever got. But they still fundamentally get those characters wrong. So, you don't have Ben hating Reed because he turned him into a monster, but also loving him because he's his brother, right? You don't that's a family dynamic you completely miss out on with the new Fantastic Four, and that's a fundamental element of who those two characters are, because Reed blames himself for turning them into freaks, especially Ben. And that's just completely taken out of the character. So like, yeah, there's plenty to be down on as far as the Fantastic Four movie is concerned in the mythology. And there's also a little bit of a Mary Sue element to that, but not anything really to get up in arms about. Just kind of a little sloppier writing than maybe I would have hoped. But I feel like you can still tie in that Victor and Tony being variants of the same person. You can tie that into even what they've set up in the new Fantastic Four movie. So I think that I think that that's not exactly a mess up. I think the Russos are going to be able to tie all that in pretty well, because they've had their hands in it pretty deep since 20. Again, Robert Downey Jr. came in 21. I think the Russos didn't come back on board until 22 because he was on board for at least a few months before they convinced the Russos to come back. That's confirmed. I just can't remember exactly the length of time between when Robert Downey Jr. signed on and when they convinced the Russos to sign on. So that we know is that that's been confirmed by people as part of this circle. So. The 2017 was more comic accurate? Are you talking Fan Four Stick? Oh no! Oh no! I'm a verify. Fantastic Four. 2015. It wasn't a 2017. It was a 2015. That's the Fan Four Stick. No. I mean, a little bit. Yes, there are definitely elements of that are closer to the comic book origin. But it was in such bad hands that it's hard to give it that credit. You have the race swap for Johnny Storm, which is not accurate, which makes Johnny and Sue not blood related, which is not accurate. The interpersonal relationships are a little bit more accurate as far as the comic books are concerned. I will give you that, but the rest of that movie was so bad, like it's super easy to overlook the one thing they got right, if that makes sense. It's been a very long time since I've seen that movie, so I could be missing something in my recollection, especially since all of the good stuff effectively in that movie happens off screen and they just tell you about it. You don't actually get to see it. That was probably the biggest mistake they made when making that movie. But yeah, yeah, more guilt turning it. Yes, 100%. Like I said, I think that is a core element of the character that they did get right with the Fan Four Stick movie. But there is so much else wrong with that movie that you give them the credit for the one thing, and then you have to take it away immediately for everything else they screwed up. So. All right, so let's continue on, though. I appreciate you there, Bjorn. Our next piece is Star Wars Galactic Racer. We're going to talk about this for a minute. It's going to be dope. So those of you who are old enough to have played, or if you've played an emulator in the meantime, the Nintendo 64 Pod Racer game, it is coming back in a big way with this one. We talked about it when the initial trailer was released, when it was very much still a ways out. Now we're getting close, baby. October 6th. We have a giant collector's edition. It is going to be $160. I haven't seen any of the pictures of what comes with the collector's edition, so we get pictures in the article. Sweet. Let's talk about this one for a minute. All right, so this one comes from Bounding Into Comics. Debut game from Fuse. Oh, that I did not know either. Debut game from Fuse Games, and it looks this nice already. I am here for it. Featuring land speeders and pod racers, has a release date. Thanks to an announcement post on the official Star Wars page, it's been revealed that Star Wars Galactic Racer is releasing on October 6th. Fuse Games was set up in 2023, sorry, by a team of former Criterion leads. What is going on with your website right now, Bounding Into Comics? What the heck, man? And recently, founder and CEO Matt Webster said that Lucasfilm helped them craft the racing machine. That's cool. We'll watch this trailer in just a moment, because that's the reveal right there. Star Wars Galactic Racer will release worldwide on PS5, Xbox Series consoles, and PC, and fans can already pre-order the game with 3 options. The standard starts at $59.99, though the deluxe version is priced at $79.99, which includes exclusive vehicles, unique livery, arcade events, and even a player banner. Arcade events seems a little unfair that you're going to have a game mode locked behind the paywall, but okay. One version fans are eyeing is the physical collector's edition, which is $159.99. This edition comes with a physical copy, a model of the core Sauron, Dark X Landspeeder, a physical banner, 2 pilot patches, an art book. Oh, that sounds dope. And custom slipcover and steel case. Hell yeah. What is the game about? Players follow Shade, a lone racer with a dream of glory and revenge. Aim is to survive long enough to earn your shot to become an elite racing pilot, Webster says. Our races are high-stakes competitions where racers do everything they can to get in front of the solo campaign and our awesome multiplayer gameplay. Screenshots tease a variety of landscapes players must navigate through, featuring exhilarating vehicles. According to the announcement post, racing has been in the DNA of Star Wars storytelling from the start. It's very true. I very explicitly remember something about one of the Super Nintendo games being a racing element as well. So yeah, I can definitely attest to that. And also, we're shooting womp rats that are that small, right? And the team with such amazing racing chops like Fuse proposed a new expression of racing in a galaxy far, far away. It was true no-brainer decision, VP and GM of Lucas Games Douglas Riley says. One of the greatest things about Star Wars, yeah, okay, whatever. We're not going to finish the quote. We just want to watch the trailer. Reveal trailer. Come on, baby. Let's go. Let's go. Pause the tunes again. That really, so that, let's go back, because this racetrack that we're on looks like one of the tracks from the Nintendo 64 game. This one right here, this also is a pod. That's Sebulba's pod racer, because you can tell by the X-shaped engines, right? So that's pretty awesome that they have at least a visual callback. It might not be the exact same race, but still. That's so cool. I like that it's more than just pods too. You get actual vehicles and like motorcycles, and this is so cool. Deluxe exclusive, Speed Racer, Naboo, Starfighter. That's cool, man. October 6th, pre-order today. And then you get all this stuff. Can we open this in a new tab? Let's see. Then make it bigger. Oh, come on. How the heck do I do that in here? Go here? No. Maybe? Oh, what the heck ever. Nope. I thought there was a zoom on here, man. Am I losing my mind? Whatever. We can see this a little better, but we're just going to have to deal with it. That still looks pretty awesome. I'm not going to lie. That's pretty great. Base game. So the deluxe edition includes base game, digital art book. Oh, so you get the art book with the deluxe and the collectors. That's cool. 3 exclusive Repulsor Craft, deluxe livery, 3 unique arcade events, deluxe player banner. Collector's edition includes steel case with sleeve, collector's edition box with sleeve, land speeder model. So you get that makes it sound like it's a variant of one of the ones you already have in the game, so that's not a pay to win situation. Physical art book, pilot patches, and Keytar banner. Keystar banner. Keister. Yeah, priceless. Yeah. So that's cool. I can totally dig that. That sounds awesome. And then I think that's where we're going to call this a stream there, nerds. Studio Canal. RoboCop streaming. Oh, let's talk. This is a quickie. We'll talk one more quickie. We have a RoboCop series getting greenlit at Amazon Studios. This has been something that's been in development hell for some time. So this is really cool that they're finally going forward with it. So someone must have had enough and said, "Come quietly or there will be trouble," because Amazon finally relented on this one after years of development purgatory. Their MGM Studios arm has given the okay to and put the stalled RoboCop series into active development. The update comes way of the Anklers, confirmed by reporting the playlist, which notes Amazon formally greenlit the series along with several other high-profile projects. This is the first major step forward since the project pivoted from a feature film to a streaming series back in 2024. Peter Ocko, was attached as writer and showrunner with James Wan producing, but whether they're still in charge is unclear. That said, Amazon might stick with the foundation they laid, and it sounds promising. For a quick recap, according to Cosmic Book News, which I guess we probably could have pulled up that article too, but whatever. Earlier descriptions suggested the series will return to the core premise and essence of the Paul Verhoeven film. Brutally slain Detroit cop is resurrected as a corporate-owned cyborg enforcer in a decaying city, drowning in crime and corruption. The original blend of satire, ultraviolence, and dark humor remains at the pulse of the franchise, and Amazon looks ready to lean in and listen to that heartbeat. I really, really hope so, because the PG-13 reboot was so bad. The playlist points out, based on Amazon's success with dystopian satire and the big IP like Fallout, the cultural movement is ripe again for a series that can cuttingly skewer corporate overreach and the dangers of tech-driven policing. Yes! Do it. Do it, do it, do it. That's all we really care about. There's no release date for this yet, right? There's a hunger for the faithful revival, and Amazon gets it brutally and bitingly right. Fans might embrace it as the one they've been waiting for, and if they don't, well, they'd better hope Murphy isn't programmed to enforce quality control. Your move, creep. Yeah. No release date for this one just yet, but it is looking promising. So, all right, that is officially where we're going to end this stream, nerds. I very much appreciate. It looks pretty. Yeah, the game looks so freaking pretty, doesn't it? Yeah, I think it's just to hang on that RoboCop thing for just a second longer before we do officially sign off. I think the really cool thing about this is that while it was in said development hell, I'm blue. Look at this. I'm blue. I need to cover up that little LED. While it was in said development hell, we got the very, very well received. I need to really get away from that LED. I'm sorry, it's driving me nuts. The very, very well received video game that came out, the first person shooter, that it was pretty short from what I remember. I didn't actually play it, so I don't know firsthand. I've only watched the Let's Plays and stuff, but it looked pretty great. The fans freaking loved it. The people who played it who weren't necessarily fans seemed to love it as well. That doing so well, I think, was a tip in the right direction for MGM Studios to go, okay, there is still a desire for this property. Let's move forward with this TV show. That also theoretically means they're not going to throw a very big budget at the TV show, so it might not look quite as good in the first season until they know it actually has legs. I also feel like that's going to create a pretty good environment as far as like the creativity is concerned, because they might have just barely enough interest to greenlight it, but not enough interest to meddle, if that makes sense. So they're going to be there. I hope they don't pull it. Oh God, yes. The pod racer game, the Galactic Racer, don't pull an EA, please. Yes, I think nobody wants to be EA. Not even EA wants to be EA these days. Anyway, sorry. Back to RoboCop. I think it's going to sit in a pretty sweet spot as far as the studio is concerned. The studio isn't going to meddle too much because they probably don't have the faith that it will make it past a first season into a second season. But that's not to say that it won't. That's not to say that if it makes money that they're not going to then all of a sudden get behind it and then probably lean into what worked. So if I'm reading this correctly, they're gonna not give it a very big budget, so we're gonna get probably not the best looking version of RoboCop, but they're going to be, all right, you just go over there and play with your toys to the showrunner guys, whoever that ends up being, whether it's James Wan or who the hell else. I think is kind of irrelevant. Well, no, if it's James Wan, if James Wan is involved in the production of this, then maybe they'll give it more money. But also, I don't have the faith in James Wan to reproduce that in a very faithful way. I think he's going to want to put his fingerprints all over it, and that's the issue with modern writing. That is the issue with modern storytelling, is that modern storytellers, the people who are writing these stories, the people who are show running these stories, the people who are producing these stories, want it to be about them. They want it to be a self-insertion. They don't want to tell a good story for the sake of telling a good story. They want to tell a good story for the sake of making themselves feel better about the world around them, and it's so bad. That should be a secondary. That should be a perk to the fact that you're also telling this amazing story. If you then have an opportunity to do some sort of self-insert, then that's fine. But if the sole purpose of doing the thing is to put yourself up front and say, this is me in character form, and I'm just going to adapt this thing that already has a built-in audience to my whims and not to the whims that were already established in the original property, that's where the issues come in. That's why people hate modern storytelling so much. That's why movies are failing left and right, because they're taking these properties, be it an adaptation of a comic book, a video game, whatever, a novel, into cinema form. Don't even get me started on the Animal Farm thing. I just recorded a whole half an hour about that this morning. It'll go up soon. But that self-insertion is what's ruining things. Because it is always the focus. That's why The Acolyte failed. That's why basically everything modern Star Wars and Star Trek has been falling apart, because these people just they're not most of them, not always, but most of them are not fans of the original IP to begin with. They see it as a vehicle to tell their own story, not as a vehicle to increase the existing lore, to expand the existing universe, to do something great for the storytelling medium as a whole, or as for that mythology specifically as a whole. They're doing it for themselves first and foremost, and the fans be damned. And some of them have said that explicitly in the interviews, and that is what sucks, is that they don't care about doing something great for this story. They only want to do something for themselves. And I'm just going to keep talking in circles, so that's where we're going to end it. So, yes, thank you very much, nerds. Don't forget, as always, the merch store's linked down in the description. You can go get yourself a Phantom Nerd shirt. Also, the channel partner, DUBBY, DUBBY.GG is the website. Code Generally Nerdy at checkout gets you 10% off. I appreciate your faces, nerds. It is 2 o'clock in the freaking morning. I think I might have woken somebody up upstairs because I hear footsteps above my head. So I have to go apologize to my sister, and thank you very much for joining me. Once we get a set schedule, these are going to be much less random, I promise you. But I very much appreciate the conversation. Let's keep it going in the comment section in the VOD, and we'll see you in the next one. But before we go, nerds, always remember that if it is generally nerdy, it's probably